The cafe smelled like roasted coffee beans and cinnamon, the kind of scent that usually made Clara feel at home. Tonight, though, it only made her feel lonelier. She sat at a small table tucked near the window, hands wrapped around a lukewarm cup of chamomile tea. Outside, soft flakes of snow drifted through the amber glow of streetlights, painting the city in silver stillness. The place was half full, couples chatting in quiet laughter, a group of friends clinking mugs, and a barista humming faintly to the soft jazz playing in the background. Across from Clara sat an empty chair, the only reminder that she wasn't supposed to be here alone. Her best friend Mia had insisted she try this. "He's perfect for you," Mia had said. Widowed, sweet, and looking for someone who understands what real life feels like, not some fantasy. Clara had laughed it off at first, but loneliness had a way of softening her resistance. She hadn't gone on a date since her last relationship ended almost 2 years ago. The thought of trying again both thrilled and terrified her. She'd arrived early, too early, maybe hoping to make a good impression. But 40 minutes later, all she'd impressed was the waiter, who kept glancing at her with polite pity. Another tea, he'd asked once. She'd declined, embarrassed. The truth was, she didn't want to admit she might have been stood up. Clara pulled her phone from her purse and checked her messages again. Nothing. No text, no missed call. Just the mocking reflection of her own face in the dark screen. She told herself he could just be running late. Traffic, maybe, or nerves. She understood nerves. Her fingers traced the rim of the teacup. The sound of laughter from a nearby table made her chest ache. She wondered if this was the universe's way of reminding her she wasn't meant for second chances. Then, just as she reached for her coat, a soft chime rang above the cafe door. The gust of cold air brushed against her, carrying the faint sound of giggles, two little voices, bright and unsure. Clara glanced up, and for the first time all evening, something stirred in her chest. She didn't know it yet, but her empty table was about to become the beginning of everything. Two little girls hurried in through the cafe door, bundled in matching pink coats and white knit hats with pom-poms that bobbed as they walked. Their cheeks were flushed from the cold, and the snowflakes melting in their hair shimmered under the warm cafe lights. They stood just inside the entrance, scanning the tables with identical hazel eyes, wide, curious, and oddly determined. Clara watched them, at first just amused. They couldn't have been more than 6, maybe 7. One clutched a small stuffed rabbit, the other held a piece of folded paper that looked suspiciously like a drawing. They whispered to each other, glancing around. Then, as if making a brave decision, one pointed in Clara's direction. "Excuse me," said the bolder twin, stepping closer. Her voice was small but clear, carrying over the soft music. Clara blinked, surprised. "Yes, sweetheart." The girl exchanged a look with her sister, who gave a tiny nod of encouragement. Then she asked, quite seriously, "Are you our new mommy?" The world seemed to freeze for a heartbeat. The hum of the espresso machine, the chatter around them, everything dimmed into silence. Clara stared, unsure if she'd heard right. What did you say?" The second girl climbed onto the empty chair across from her, her boots swinging above the floor. "Daddy said we might meet her today," she said matter-of-factly. "He said she has brown hair, likes books, and drinks tea with honey." Clara blinked again. The cup in her hand trembled slightly. How could they possibly? "Oh, honey," she managed, smiling gently. Though her heart was racing, "I think there's been a mistake. I'm just..." But the braver twin interrupted, her eyes shining. "Daddy said she'd be pretty and kind too," she added confidently. A small laugh escaped Clara's throat, half shock, half disbelief. "You're very sweet, but I'm afraid I'm not." And then she heard it, a deep voice calling from the doorway. "Girls. Oh no, girls, wait." The two little heads turned instantly. A tall man stood by the door, snow clinging to his coat, his breath forming soft clouds in the cold air. He looked frazzled, apologetic, and utterly familiar. Clara's heart skipped. She recognized that face, from the single profile picture Mia had shown her. Her blind date had finally arrived. "Girls." The man's voice was deep, edged with panic and relief all at once. He hurried through the door, brushing snow off his shoulders. "I told you to wait right outside, just for a minute." The twins turned toward him instantly, guilt and giggles mixing on their faces. "But Daddy," one began, "we found her." Ethan froze mid-step, following his daughter's pointing finger, straight to Clara. Their eyes met, and in that split second, everything else in the cafe faded. He was taller than she expected, with dark hair slightly tousled from the wind, and kind eyes that carried the kind of weariness that only came from loving deeply and losing just as deeply. For a moment, they simply stared, two strangers tied by one impulsive setup and two very determined little girls. Hi, he stammered, stepping closer. "You must be Clara. I'm Ethan. And these two," he said, resting a gentle hand on each girl's shoulder, "are trouble." The twins giggled, hiding behind his coat. Clara smiled, her earlier tension dissolving into something softer. "So, you're my mysterious no-show," she teased lightly, though there was no bitterness in her voice now, only curiosity. His expression turned sheepish. "Yeah, I owe you a huge apology. Our babysitter canceled at the last minute, and I didn't want to reschedule again, so," he gestured helplessly toward the twins. "They insisted on coming. I didn't think they'd, run inside ahead of me." Clara glanced at the girls, who were now whispering and giggling as they pretended to sip imaginary tea from empty hands. "They have great instincts," she said softly. Ethan chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. "They think they're my social managers. Honestly, they might be right." The waiter approached awkwardly, sensing the new energy at the table. Ethan quickly ordered hot chocolate for the girls and coffee for himself. As he settled into the chair opposite Clara, something changed in the air, like a long, hesitant pause finally exhaled. "So," Clara said after a beat, smiling faintly, "is this the part where I run for the hills or stay for the adventure?" Ethan looked at her with a mix of humor and sincerity. "I'm hoping you'll stay." The twins nodded in perfect unison, as if sealing the deal. She should definitely stay, and for the first time that night, Clara felt like she truly wanted to. The cafe had grown quieter as the evening deepened, the hum of conversation replaced by the steady rhythm of snow tapping against the window. The twins sat between Clara and Ethan, happily dunking marshmallows into their hot chocolate, their laughter spilling over like music. Clara found herself relaxing, almost forgetting this had begun as a date gone wrong. Ethan's presence was unexpectedly gentle. He listened when she spoke, smiled when she teased, and didn't hide the tiredness in his eyes. It wasn't the kind of tired that pushed people away, it was the kind that made her want to stay, to understand. "So," she asked, stirring her tea, "do they always interview your dates first?" Ethan chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Only when they really like the description. Usually, they hide behind me. Usually," he shrugged, smiling. "It's been a long time since there was a usually." For a brief moment, silence stretched between them, filled only by the faint music and the twins' soft giggles. Clara glanced at the girls, who were now bent over a piece of paper, crayons scattered across the table. One of them looked up, beaming. "Look," she announced proudly, sliding the paper toward them. It was a picture, 4 stick figures holding hands beneath a big yellow sun. One wore a blue dress with brown hair. Beside her, 2 smaller figures with matching curls and a tall one with messy black lines for hair. Underneath, in uneven letters, it read, "Our family." Clara's throat tightened. She looked at Ethan, expecting him to be embarrassed, but he wasn't. His expression was soft, a little sad, but full of something she hadn't seen in a long time, hope. "I swear," he said quietly, "I didn't tell them to draw that." Clara smiled, blinking back a sudden warmth in her eyes. "I believe you." Outside, snowflakes swirled in lazy spirals against the glass. The cafe lights flickered softly, wrapping them all in a gentle golden glow. When Ethan walked her to her car later, the twins waved from the window, their faces pressed to the glass. Clara turned back one last time and met Ethan's gaze, steady, kind, and full of silent promise. What began as an empty table had become something quietly extraordinary. Maybe, she thought, some love stories didn't start with fireworks, just a cup of tea, 2 giggles, and the feeling of coming home.